Hello, Internet, and welcome to Shallow Cinema Theory.
Matpat might sue us if we do that.
No, he's cool. He's fine.
He's cool. He's a cool dude.
Yeah.
Well, then he should be in our Patreon that we don't have, and he should send us money. That's just a theory, though.
It is just a theory. Well, it's Halloween, and we both saw Five Nights at Freddy's.
We're actually at our good friend Frederick's house right now.
Fortnights at Freddy's. I am Nemo.
I am Blackjack Bauer.
And this is a great one-off episode for Halloween. I think this is something we absolutely should need to do.
Arguably, every episode's a one-off.
Don't worry about that.
There's not continuity. We don't have running gags. Wait, we don't have running gags. I think we did at the very beginning.
We do have a bit of a running gag, and it's it's just random. The world is a vampire like cameos.
No vampires in this movie.
Unfortunately, well, maybe. Who knows? Anyway, did you see it in the theater? Or did you watch it at home on Peacock?
I was gonna say I can't imagine anyone did, but obviously, and I guess we should specify if you do not even know what we're talking about. New movie that came out, Five Nights at Freddy's. That is based on a video game. The video game essentially is just you are a security guard at a defunct pizzeria.
Yep.
Why would a defunct pizzeria need a night security guard? Well, because the animatronics come to life at night. And
they get a little quirky at night,
and they want to kill. And then there's a whole bunch of lore that I don't know. I know a little bit. I don't know all of it because I think there's too much.
I know a bit,
but I'm going to approach the initial part of this review and our discussion as this is just a movie. Like I'm not going to give it any leeway one or the other for being based on the video game or like, oh, it's explained in the game or it's this or that. The movie.
And I completely agree with you on this one.
And we can't, eventually, obviously, we can't ignore the fact that, well, yes, there's source material to this. But I'm just going to approach it as a movie.
Which is something this weird in this niche is how it should be approached to begin with.
But no, I watched it at home because this also actually didn't premiere day and date. It premiered the day before on Peacock.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that. I think it might have been an accident.
And this is very interesting. Now, they did do this with Halloween Ends.
Oh, did they?
2 years ago. Now that I thought was a little bit done because of still COVID.
Still COVID.
COVID restrictions weren't still going on. Theaters were open, and Halloween Ends did go to theaters. But it also premiered day and date on Peacock, which is actually why it's why I got Peacock, because it's like, well, it's $10 to get Peacock. And it's more than that to go buy this movie ticket, and I don't know if this is going to be good, so fuck it.
That's very reasonable.
And then I inadvertently ended up keeping Peacock, and then because of Twisted Metal coming, it's like, well, fuck, I guess I might as well just stick around. And then surprisingly, I'll give Peacock some praise. Like, of all the streamers out there now, like it's better than most, in my opinion.
That's interesting. I actually don't have it. I saw it. I got the trial. Yeah.
Oh, I thought just okay. You didn't go to the theater either.
No, I didn't have the time.
But the joke I was going to make was not even a joke. Was I can't imagine anyone would have gone to see this at the theater because it's on Peacock. But apparently there were plenty because this is Blumhouse. Blumhouse's biggest opening. It beat 2018's Halloween, but by like $1 million. But still, their biggest opening.
I think the latest numbers is that it actually beat Oppenheimer's opening night.
Oh, who compared this to Oppenheimer?
Just because Oppenheimer is the biggest, most talked about movie of the year alongside of Barbie.
Domestically, this already has made $78 million. Now, Jason Blum.
Yep, yeah, it is.
Is his name Jason Blum or Blumhouse?
I think it's just Blum.
Okay, whatever. Blumhouse dude. He before the movie even opened stated it had already been a success based on the selling the streaming rights and something else that they sold of it.
So pre-sale tickets is one too,
but he didn't mention pre-sale tickets. Literally just selling the streaming aspect and some other aspect of whatever. Packaging. So this movie could have bombed, and the studio still was like, well, we're fine. Now
that's very interesting.
It is. And I don't know if I don't think this is their most expensive, but if you don't know Blumhouse, their method is we can make
them cheap.
Not like bad, but like we're not going to overspend. And this is also why horror, there's an interesting thing too I want to point out. In movies, there are genres that kind of ebb and flow. Like we don't get a lot of Westerns anymore, right? But that used to be the fucking thing. We don't get a lot of musicals anymore. Again, that used to be a big thing. We will get some occasionally.
Yeah, there'll be like one big one a year sometimes, maybe even like in 5 years.
And obviously horror had had a big kind of like boom in the 70s, and then I think really cemented when you think of a horror movie. I think the 80s
absolutely
is where people's mind goes to. Of like,
you know, you get your Freddy Krueger, your Jason,
right, which I also was going to point out, I was like, you get your Freddy's, your Jasons, your Michael Myers, and they have nice first movies, and then all of their sequels are generally terrible. But we really, I don't think we really have a new cinematic movie monster. And I mean, like, look, The Nun or whatever the fuck is in The Conjuring. That shit,
Annabelle,
is 20, 30 years from now. No one's going to care. No one's probably going to make a remake of that. But Freddy, even though we haven't had a Nightmare movie in a long time, like, you say Freddy and people know, like, oh, you mean Freddy Krueger.
Oh, Fazbear.
Actually, oh, yeah, fuck. Maybe that will happen now. That was just something that like dawned on me. I was just watching some horror movies this week. I was like, oh, yeah, I guess like the actual like iconic horror movie monster villains all kind of stem from the 80s.
Oh, yeah, like even like stuff like Pinhead, Jeepers Creepers.
Jeepers Creepers would be 90s,
but was it early 90s, like Scream?
No, it was after Scream because I was in high school when that came out.
So the Scream was 91.
I say Scream was 96.
I don't think it was 96. I don't know. We don't do our research on this stuff.
No, this is off the cuff. I mean, but I do have notes this time. If you listen to these episodes in order, you'll know last time I did not have notes. So I don't feel like there's been anything in the 2000s.
Jigsaw?
Yeah, I guess he would be. And apparently Saw X has gotten good reviews.
Yeah, it has. How about that?
But yeah, you're right.
I'm hard pressed to think of any other ones though.
He would be the one. But also like is he? I guess he is like a horror movie villain, but like technically there's 10 of those fucking movies.
You're right. Yeah.
He dies in the third one, and like this isn't magical powers. Like motherfucker is dead.
Specifically, the puppet is what I'm thinking.
That'd be Billy.
Oh, you know what? Whatever.
Get your shit right.
But that's what I mean, though. It's like an iconic thing from.
But yeah,
that.
Billy the puppet.
And I didn't even know he had a name as Billy. I called him Jigsaw. So you know what?
Which also mean works. But so to Freddy Fazbear's. Now I'll state like I said, I know some, but generally speaking, very, very little. So I also know full well that they were definitely Easter eggs and references and shit all over this movie that I probably didn't even recognize was a thing.
Oh yeah, there was a ton.
There wasn't anything that I felt was blatant towards like, I guess it's a reference that I don't understand.
There's a couple of things that you probably
the balloon kid thing,
balloon boy, yeah.
But I also picked up of like, well, it's clearly a thing. I did enjoy the opening of the movie in regard second opening after the title credits, where like the time is up there, but it's by itself, and it's like, oh, it's like the game because like that's when you get to leave. You get to leave at 6 o'clock in the morning.
6 a.m.
Okay, it's like, well, that's fun. But I'm gonna spoiler alert up front. I did not like this movie. I think this is a bad movie.
The writer and the full creative decision of this movie is the creator of the games.
Oh no, I noticed. I know his name, Scott Cawthon, and I saw that first. I saw he was a producer, and I was like, okay, obviously he would be.
Yeah.
And I saw the script. I was like, oh, I mean, he didn't write it by himself. Someone else was there with him.
It was the guy that wrote the novels.
Okay. And I have found out this movie is mostly taking elements from the third game as far as the ghost children. I mean, it's all there, but
it's the style of the first game, story of the third game, and then pieces of the first couple books.
Yeah, I'd heard there was like bits of the novel
mixed with new lore,
and that yes, someone pointed out, I was like, some of the lore has been changed. I don't know if anything new was added, but some stuff.
There's a couple things like
some stuff was tweaked or changed,
like certain characters' relations to each other.
So I took a lot of notes in this movie, and I'm going to tell you up front, because then hopefully you have some more answers for me.
Yeah, because I'm going to say, like you said, you didn't like the movie. I say I was disappointed, but I left having a good time. Kind of like what you had said before, like Twisted Metal, where you kind of just like, I can't believe we're actually seeing this. I mean, this is an indie game to think about. Like, getting a movie, like, that's insane by itself.
Before we discuss anything in the movie, or I put my questions up there or anything, I also will say that I think that this is clearly for the fans.
Absolutely.
Of the game, which I think is a good thing. I think we've had discussions about this with other IP stuff of, generally speaking, you should be more concerned about the fan base that made this thing popular enough to warrant anyone spending money to buy this IP and make a movie out of it. So in that case, if and I've got for later in the episode, we'll put a pin in this, I've pulled some reviews from Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay, yeah, because
both critics and audience.
That's the big thing that people are talking about right now anyway.
And I will also point out the percentage critic on Rotten Tomatoes, 25%.
It was 28 when I looked this morning, so it's already dropped a couple.
Yeah, I did this literally before I got here. It's 25%. The audience is 89%.
And it was, I think
that's the
8,
verified
8.
audience. Unverified, it goes up to like 92.
Yep.
Now,
okay.
I'll also indicate like, and from reading some of the reviews, it's like, well, every one of the audience reviews are all people who it's fans of Five Nights at Freddy's. There's not a single fucking person who just saw the movie is like, nope, because they'll make reference to like the game or like what was changed or like, and a lot of them were like, I've been waiting for this, and it was worth the 8-year wait, and which is weird too. And the other thing is like, is this a kids movie? Because is Five Nights at, but I know kids are what propelled Five Nights at Freddy's to become what it is because they liked watching Markiplier scream.
It's bizarre,
but I don't feel like it's not a kid's game.
We can talk about some of the complaints and stuff, but like people are talking about there's not a lot of gore, but the games don't have any gore.
So that was before I even saw it. I think before I even kind of got a baseline of some review stuff, I saw there were complaints about, or maybe that there were, I don't know if the complaints, but the director came out and said like, don't expect
like
a different cut.
Yeah.
Like this is this is what we did. This is what we wanted. And I'll admit in watching, and I've said in the past, like you can have a good PG-13 horror movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Generally the R rating is going to make it better. But that's not just based on gore. It can be based on what other story elements you can do. Just like Logan, which is not a horror movie, but like, yes, Logan is rated R because, well, it's pretty fucking gory.
There's a shit ton of gore in it. Yeah.
And he says fuck a lot. But that R rating also allowed like, oh, we can have scenes where characters just sit and are in a moment and like dealing with things that a PG-13 movie mindset, like you wouldn't really like, we gotta go.
Right.
But an interesting thing with this movie is that wasn't, there's one bit where it's like, gore would have been good here.
I know what part it is.
I bet you do.
Yep.
And I'll also say, and it's in my notes, like I laughed out loud, and I don't think for the reason that they wanted. I think they intended people to laugh at this maybe.
I'm excited to
my
know.
laughing at that moment was like, I'm not laughing because of why you wanted me to laugh. But also, and I'm gonna give this movie credit, and some of these reviewers did too, of like, this movie isn't a Chuck E. Cheese fest, dumb fanfic shit. Like they try to take it seriously and set up this drama with our main Hunger Games character.
Yeah, Mike.
I'm only going to call him Hunger Games,
Josh
or maybe
Hutchinson.
Future Man. But yeah, and his performance it's something to talk about too.
We got a lot to talk about, is what you're saying.
But I think that's a mistake because if this is a kids movie, that shit was actually kind of boring.
It was boring.
And for a kid, like this isn't that they're not going to be entertained by this.
It was too much at once.
And it also, I mean, it does tie together by the end, even though in every twist they pulled, I called almost immediately beforehand.
There's
like,
too
it's gonna
many
be this
twists for one thing.
And this is one of the reviews I read too, is like, and for a movie about killer animatronics, it's not all killing animatronics.
They weren't in the movie a lot at all.
But the best thing and there's good stuff here, but the best thing I'll give this movie is the animatronics look really good. And
Yep.
Jim Henson.
Jim Henson.
And I don't know, CG is definitely involved in here.
Actually, it's not.
But it's like stuff with like when they're in motion walking,
Nope.
there's a little bit.
No, there are people inside of Freddy.
I know
and
that there are
Bonnie.
people inside the suits, and when they had to do like dance movements, there are dancers in there. I think there's, when I say CG, I mean literally like touch up stuff.
Oh, I understand.
Like, yeah, they are full functioning.
And
they're full suits.
When the cupcake launches across the room and stuff, that's CG.
And it's rough. And the cupcake I have issues with. But
Me too.
but I don't know the cupcake's name. But like I did know the cupcake because I bought a girl a plushie of that when this was popular.
That's funny.
That relationship did not go well. But I feel like the cupcake actually did most of the killing.
It did. I think it's just because it was an easy prop.
But also the cupcake. It's never fucking explained.
No.
And that's going to be my main issue with this movie is nothing is explained. And it is also filled to the brim with frustrating characters. This isn't even characters not telling something to someone who they clearly would in real life just say this shit to you.
Right.
It's just like, I'm going to give you some exposition and then I have to create mystery. So I'm not going to answer this very blatant question that you asked me that would have a very clear answer that clearly I know the answer to.
Yeah. Vanessa was frustrating. We can both agree with that.
Incredible. Like, I don't know that I've ever had a more frustrating character and a more blatant, like her introduction. So there's a cop in this movie. Actually, I don't even know. Is she really a cop? I'm sure in the game she is.
Yeah.
But in this movie, I feel like we need to start. We got to go from the beginning.
Yeah. Let's go through it. Okay.
So we open with a security guard being hunted by the animatronics.
Yes.
I do think the opening kind of didn't look very good. Like it looked like a fan film. I don't know if it was.
It kind of had like a POV style to a lot of it.
It was more of just the lighting and the texture and the set design. As the movie went on, I actually think there are some good shots in this movie and it has a good look. for the most part. Anyway, he's running away. You get a couple good little, like, they're not jump scares, but fun little like flashes of light, and you kind of go like, oh look, oh I saw one back there.
Yeah.
And then he gets caught and he gets put in this chair and then killed by Freddy face with saws in it.
Basically, yeah.
Which is a note I have at the end of my notes of what the fuck was that? Because knowing the fact that like I know that they're dead bodies in the animatronics, that's partially why they can come alive. I kind of thought like, are you making another animatronic? But no, because we see that mask thing again.
Yes.
And I think we even see that the dead guard's body.
Yes, we do.
So like they just put him in there to kill him, but also then it's like, what is the mask? Because they go out of their way to explain these suits and that they're not just animatronics, that they were also suits for people to wear.
Yes.
So then what is that one? Because that one's not like, that's straight up like, that's just a murder machine. Like that's clearly buzzsaws going on this.
I think
that's Freddy's face.
I think that's exactly what it is. Like it's literally a murdering machine that the main villain Afton created. So when people get too close, he kills them because he's a psychopath killer.
So I do want to try to like tackle this like in order, but it's kind of hard.
Yeah, that's a lot.
This may also be the most plot holiest movie I've ever watched. I don't want to nitpick it, and at certain points, like I know, like look, movies have to be movies. Like shit's got to happen.
Yes.
And even if you're not like a great movie, sometimes you're like, well, yeah, it's a plot hole, but whatever, look over it. This movie, every single step of it is a plot hole that doesn't make any sense of like how anyone's doing any of these things, how this shit works.
That's a big one.
Why any of it's happening. And I can't believe I'm saying this. I would recommend if you wanted to watch, if you're not a fan of FNAF, if you are, then I guess you're going to love this. This is from the consensus I'm getting from reading these reviews. If you're not a fan of FNAF, but the idea of like, oh, haunted Chuck E. Cheese or whatever sounds good to you, I can't believe I'm going to say this. Watch Willy's Wonderland.
I've seen a lot of people say that.
I actually think Willy's Wonderland did the Five Nights thing better.
At least
because it set rules.
The idea behind it.
It without over explaining, it explained like, yep. And in that movie too, like the town is aware of the fact that like, yeah, the shit's possessed in there.
And
I
will say that it's not a good movie though.
There are people being murdered, never gets brought up. Like the only police we see is Vanessa, and
it's because she's covering it up.
Right. But then at the end when it's revealed who the bad guy is and everything, which that's a whole other issue. He tells her, which is his daughter, you had one job, keep him in the dark, and if you got too close, kill him. It was like, you were posing as apparently a career assistance counselor, which I don't understand like what the purpose of, I guess, so you can send people to your pizzeria.
Basically because he likes killing people.
But then what? Then why send Josh Hutcherson? Why send Hunger Games there and then tell your daughter to keep him in the dark, and if he gets too close, kill? Like, just kill them. And also, like, why would it take 5 nights? Why any of this? I think it would be better if the town kind of knew, or if it was like a little bit of a like urban legend, but like,
right, yeah.
And then he makes a reference to like, well, the owner is nostalgic, or he doesn't want to let it go. That's why it's still here. And then by the end, I'm thinking like, are you the owner? Because even when Vanessa reveals that she's his daughter and all this other shit,
which that was a new lore drop.
He was just in the bunny suit,
Springtrap,
and not the owner. So eventually, I'm also wondering towards the end, like, who's the owner? And I thought that would be actually, because you had messaged me, you watched it before me. You mentioned a cameo, and I thought that you wrote cameo at the end. So I can't believe that. I was like, I guess the owner's going to be like somebody big,
oh no,
or that the owner would come in and honestly at least explain a little bit of like, yeah, so here's what's kind of going on in here. Even when we get the big killer reveal, he does not explain how he is able to, one, control these things, which, I mean, Vanessa says that he does.
It's the suit that he's wearing.
Even like, again, say something. At least Godzilla versus Kong explained like, if you sit in this fucking Ghidorah head, like it can control Mechagodzilla. And then the ghost kids.
Yes.
It's weird. Like ghost kids are possessed animatronics would be scary on their own, and somehow you put them in a movie together and it's like, then this isn't scary at all. And it was very unclear to me sometimes of like, are you just showing us the kids so we understand the kids like in there, or like, are the kids malevolent? It kind of insinuates that the kids want, or that they want more friends. Yes. And I think in the game, the excuse for why, at least the first ones, until the lore started to develop, the reason why they're killing you is they think you're an animatronic that's not in your suit. So that's why they're going to shove you in.
Yeah, that's exactly, they want to put you in a suit.
This, and maybe it's the further development of the games, but in the movie, it's it's less that like they know like, no, I know you're a human. I understand you're a person.
At least it shows that they put some in there.
And but that they want friends. And then explain that somehow these murdered kids, he's also been able to wipe their memory that he killed them so they will do what he says.
So that's like one of those things like I wish it was it is in the movie, but it's all told in the credits with the pixels, which is really frustrating.
I read early on that the entirety of the pixel thing is, I mean, I recognized some of it from my game theory days of watching Matpat.
Yes.
And again, like, but I already knew that basic element of the lore. It's like, I know there's a killer. He killed these kids and he put their bodies in the suits.
That's what gets weird about it is in the games, there's the famous Markiplier scene where he's like, was that the bite of 87? But it was actually like 83, I think. You just misspoke. But basically,
we should also state this movie takes place in 2001.
Yes. So yeah, you're gonna have like no cell phones and stuff like that.
No, they did have a cell phone. It was a Nokia cell phone, but no smartphones.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
So that stuff can't be looked up or researched.
Yeah, there's a whole thing where a bunch of bullies are like torturing this kid and like bullying the fuck out of him, and they lift him up and they put his head inside of the Golden Freddy, which is the first Freddy Fazbear.
I did read
the machine bites down on his head and kills him, and it was an accident. But his soul got stuck in there.
I did read that they did build a full Golden Freddy suit as well, but it wasn't used.
The kids, they didn't know how they died, basically. They didn't know someone killed them.
You know, him wiping their memory.
And he didn't wipe their memory. They just didn't know.
Is the least of my concerns.
So although they think that he's their friend.
It leads to something I didn't like, which was the anticlimactic ending of like, well, it's solved and beaten with a picture.
Oh, yeah.
The Hunger Games is his driving forces. When he was a kid, his little brother got kidnapped. And now his parents are dead, and he's raising his little sister.
And that's what opens the movie, too, is he thinks a little boy is getting kidnapped.
Right.
So he's like...
And again...
has like a triggering feeling.
Because I thought that was just him being a good security guard and thought that kid was being kidnapped. But then reflecting once the movie was over, was like, oh, it's because you also have fucking trauma of watching your brother get kidnapped. Seems like a different fucking movie than Five Nights at Freddy's.
It does.
And it's like, okay, well, you got to stretch this out somehow because like, why else would a character be in this fucking pizza parlor for 5 nights being attacked by animatronics?
That's why I think the opening credits would have made a better movie.
Well, again,
because you're explaining too much and explaining too little.
While it's not a good movie, so Willy's Wonderland did this shit better and just like, nope, it's just gonna be this. And we can do this. And eventually, even in that movie, like the ending fight kind of looks better than this. Granted, it's not shot as well, but like just looks better.
That's understandable.
So and he's trying to inception himself to remember. He's doing dream mind palace stuff because he thinks that he knows like that he did see who kidnapped his brother and he just can't remember it. So he's trying to find it in his dreams. But he also is having to fend off seemingly a greedy aunt who wants to get the little sister just to get the check from the state.
Basically, yeah.
But it's so tropey and dumb and really amounts to nothing other than like mild motivation for Hunger Games. But he already has that. You could just like
you don't need another.
He needs a job to support him and his. Like that's it. We don't need this human antagonist thing. And with that aunt, we only ever see her being a bitch.
Right. Yeah.
I guess it wasn't. It was like at the school is when we're introduced to her.
Yes.
And then we see her at this diner where she's clearly talked to these local yokels who one of them happens to be the babysitter Hunger Games uses to try to like get shit on Hunger Games.
Exactly.
And or ruin stuff so she can get the kid. From the look of her though, the aunt, she doesn't look poor.
No, she looks like she's
struggling.
Rich. Yeah. I mean, she has her lawyer literally following her around in every scene.
But then I wonder is like, well, how much can the check from the state be that you'd go through all of this effort to get this kid?
Which is one of those things.
And then she's paying these local yokels $1,000, which even I wrote was like $1,000. Like it's not very much.
Not that much.
I mean, it's a lot for you to give up for nothing, I guess. But for the local yokels, like, so you both get $500. Like, I guess I would do it too. I don't know, but
it's weird.
It was very weird. The lawyer that she has is probably the most comedy of this movie. That's the other thing with this movie is it's not scary. And this is like we talked about last year with Krampus. Krampus kind of being which is also PG-13.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
But does have more gore in it, or has more implied gore. Like, whereas like, oh, this I didn't see anything, but like somehow you made it seem like this was like really intense.
Yeah.
But that's also a like starter horror movie or gateway horror movie of like, oh, you're a kid. Here's where like you can start watching horror movie. And that's clearly what this movie is supposed to. This is a gateway horror movie. I get it.
I can see that. Yeah, absolutely.
And honestly, for being, I guess, a kid's movie, there is some stuff where it's like, oh, I'm surprised that you're you're still leaning into like, yeah, no, these kids were murdered and their bodies were shoved in here and
they're still in there
and this and that. But it's not scary. It's not funny. And it just feels dour. And then really like what anyone, I'm going to say anyone because again, I don't know what the fans, but what I wanted to see was like, I want to see animatronics fucking kill people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, there's not very much of that.
As like a general audience member, I can absolutely see like why you'd want that. And I mean, they kind of advertised it like that.
And then with Josh Hunger Games dream story stuff going on. And for the first half of the movie, the dream thing seems entirely separate from
it does
from this tour. Is like, is this a different script that you just had? And you're like, shove it in there.
I didn't really like that much.
And then again, it does tie into it towards the end, which I also felt was like, which I knew it would have to. Is like, it's got to tie in because like, well, otherwise, why are you doing this?
Yeah, it has to.
And then I was like, whoever took his brother is going to be the fucking killer who killed these kids, which it was. Which leads me to the question of, is his brother one of the animatronics?
Yes, and he is in the movie, but you don't know it, and it's definitely going to be a reveal in the second.
Hunger Games never even is asked. In his dreams, once he starts working at the place, the kids start showing up in his dream.
They do.
And he's confused, like, why are you here?
Yeah, like, what the fuck?
But, like, his brother's not one of those kids.
He is. He's there, but you don't see his face ever. He's the one that is wearing a big hat.
But I do see that kid, the big hat kid. I see his face like, at the end when they're trying to convince him, like, you can have this.
I don't think that you actually see the kid with the hat's face. There's actually some scenes if you watch the dream sequences, the kids don't have faces at all. Like they're actually like flat surfaces with nothing on them. Because in the lore, which is annoying because this is something you want to know, but the kids are starting to lose their memories. Like as time goes on, they forget who they are.
What I saw did not have blurry faces.
Yeah, they're in there. Like I can show you some screenshots later.
Unless they're pulling a Stranger Things 4 and they're updating this movie as it goes. Like, and even if that is the case, or originally they were blurry. Again, I definitely saw kids' faces, especially when they.
Oh no, you did, but just that one specific kid.
But in that dream too, like even if he's faceless, like, but he's also there at the picnic table, so that wouldn't make any fucking that. Even in dream logics, like that doesn't make any sense. It's kind of what you're wanting to do with the story.
It's like that one out of all the ones he was the first to die, and he's the one that's lost most of his memories.
I guess I figured the one with the hat in the dream was Freddy.
There's 5 kids. The blonde kid
clearly
is Freddy.
The blonde kid is Freddy. And once things get a little bit clearer in the dream, it's very obvious. Like, well, I can see a kid holding a hook, so that's Foxy.
Right.
That kid's got the shirt that says "Let's eat." Like that's
Chica. And then one is wearing bunny ears. Bonnie.
So at the end, as things were wrapping up, I was trying to think like, is his brother the cupcake?
Nope,
Also my question is, who's the cupcake? And how did you shove a whole body into that cupcake? Because that cupcake is not body size.
I think the cupcake is basically there's another thing too. They're living toys, which is what the balloon boy is. So they're basically like evil toys.
And this is why I wanted to like separate it from the game to talk about it first.
Exactly, because that needs to be explained.
I know there's a crazy amount of lore and from the game, and I can take the stuff that I'm fandom of too and be like, well, actually this is explained here. And you could do that with Jurassic Park too. It's like, well, they didn't explain this. Like, well, in the book they explained it.
Right, exactly.
But this movie, so much things happen in this movie is like, dude, you got to explain something. It can't just, that's why I do say like, this is clearly only for the fans because you all do know what's happening.
Yes. So that's like a lot. But with his brother, the invisible friend that his sister has basically is him, and he's being led by the Freddy child. So the broken Freddy Fazbear we see is the brother.
But okay.
And it's Freddy's spirit is kind of leading him.
Because what you're referencing is another thing I did have an issue with.
Which that was Golden Freddy.
That I do have like a big question of. And we are jumping around. Sorry, folks.
No, it's fine.
Towards the end of the film, little girl ends up at the pizzeria and like she thinks they're her friends. And it's established earlier on that she talks to nobody, or she's talking to imaginary friends, which again, and it's fine for the story, but it was also blatant for me watching it. Like when that's said in the first 5 minutes, like, oh, well, clearly she's going to talk. Right. Either she's already talking to them or like she will, which is why I expected she would go to the pizzeria. So I was surprised the first night that she didn't. We had the babysitter and was like, oh, I thought that the girl would end up here because
you
making
think so.
a big deal about her talking to imaginary friend. Anyway, towards the end, a Freddy shows up and kills the aunt.
Which that was the Golden Freddy.
And it does it because it looks, because I even thought that too, is like, it doesn't look more golden per se, but I know that Golden Freddy is supposed to is more fucked up looking.
Yeah, he's broken and old.
I only know that because working at GameStop, saw the fucking pops and plushes.
Yeah.
Which is also why I know, like, oh man, there's a crazy, like, I guess they are like Pokemon. Eventually they evolve and they get more teeth in their mouth.
There's other places, like other locations.
Sister locations.
Mm-hmm.
I recognize that doll when it showed up too.
Actually, that wasn't the doll. A lot of people thought it was, but it's not. That's actually a different one from the book, and it's called like something else.
Oh, I did read that, like, because in Sister Location, that thing is not that big, and it's not an animatronic. Like, it wouldn't be a suit, and they changed it for this to like, oh, it's also a suit, so it's got a spring trap in it.
I think that's a whole
Regardless,
thing.
Little girl kind of sees like Freddy ghost kid. She also sees the animatronic. Movie doesn't do a good job
because like the Freddy ghost is not inside of that animatronic. It's the
balancing
brother that's in it.
And I guess this is also like why you need a night security guard there to keep them in there. But I'm getting away from the point. That scene entirely was like, is that really there? Is this animatronic really there?
Yes.
And the immediate question being, how the fuck did it get here? I'm fine with it leaving the restaurant and shit, but it's like, did it walk the whole way? And then it gets in the cab later. So then it became clear, it's like, well, it's clearly really here. And the cab driver is also like, I mean, he's shocked when it sits down, and then he just goes about his fucking day taking them there. And I was like, first I was like, who paid the fare? Right. I guess the girl maybe has a little bit of money in her backpack. So, okay. And maybe you think that's someone in a suit, I guess.
That's my initial thought, but also I'd be like, what the fuck?
But also then I assumed that fucking thing took that cab there because the cab was waiting outside. Now maybe they called the cab and we just like cut time, but that goes to this movie having a weird editing issue.
That was very strange.
And in all of these things, and especially in a horror movie, like you let things go just so stuff can happen, but like constantly in this movie, I was just like, what, how, or why?
But also, it's like these robots know where you live.
That was the other thing too. Is like, how does the robot know? Like, it's fine that it left.
It's got like,
how does it know where you live? Also, when was it Vanessa? Is that the name of the cop?
Yes.
After the first night meeting Hunger Games at the restaurant, she then goes to visit him at his house, and that I was immediately like, she knows where he lives.
Yeah. How
do you know where he lives? Yeah. I mean, you're a cop. I guess you can figure it out, but like,
what?
Okay. And why are you here?
And also the cab driver was the other cameo. That was the YouTuber Corey X Kinchin, which he game videos.
Okay.
I actually don't know who that is.
And Markiplier was supposed to be the security guard.
Yeah, he was.
Movie,
but
he's filming his own movie.
Yeah, his own movie, Iron Lung.
So like that was an issue for me, just right there. Like, and with that, really what it tied into is, I think the actual note even reads, these animatronics look good, though the opening had a very fan film look to it. Also, these move like the T-Rex at the end of Jurassic Park. Heavy, but silent. Because when we're shown them moving or walking, they are very heavy, making lots of noise.
Oh, yeah.
And they are slow. But when we don't see them moving, apparently these motherfuckers can move like the wind. Because if they can't teleport, then why do they ever walk?
I don't think they can teleport up.
But they must.
There's a weird thing.
Because they'll just sneak up on people, and it's like, how would you have snuck up on them? I agree,
because they're big metal machines.
And if you don't get the reference of Jurassic Park, T-Rex makes a lot of noise at the beginning. The most famous scene, arguing Jurassic Park, I'm just like, yep, look at that water move. And then at the end of the movie, T-Rex just shows up out of nowhere. Right, like, did you guys not hear that coming? It was just like, oh, character arc, he became a sneaky dinosaur.
Yeah. The scene when the first guy gets killed by Chica, you can actually see her walking in the background, like very smoothly, and it's.
Oh, you're talking about the very opening of the movie, the security guard?
No, with the people to break in.
That was actually, honestly, that might be my favorite shot of the movie. So
it's like all the way very deep in the background.
Local yokels are gonna go break into the pizzeria to trash it up so that Hunger Games loses his job. Which I also didn't really understand how that would make him lose his job. But
just because, he's supposed to be a security guard.
It's an abandoned fucking building.
Right. Exactly.
And even as they were trashing, it was like, who gives a fuck? Like, I mean, I know the owner wants to keep the thing, like, doesn't want to demolish, but it's like, he didn't even come. We never meet the owner, to where again it was like, how do you start a job and like you didn't meet anybody? You just like, I guess Matthew Lillard gave you the key.
Which he was the owner.
Is he?
Yeah, he's the owner.
Okay.
That his name, the name he's using is a fake name. He's William Afton. That's also why he ends up giving that guy the security job anyway, because he's about to just say, "Get the fuck out of here," until he sees what his last name is. And he's like, "Oh, you're the brother of the kid I killed, and also the mom."
Oh, I guess he doesn't explain how his mom died. Just says she died. And I guess does his dad kill? Wait,
it never says his dad is killed. So I think that's a new lore drop.
Is Hunger Games character from the game?
Yeah, he's the security guard you play as.
Oh, I didn't know that. I just assumed it was a nameless faceless security
guard. In the games and the books, he is looking for his brother. There's no little sister additional thing added. But you have to have characters to talk to, because Vanessa has no relation to anyone in the game at all. She's certainly not Afton's daughter in the games. So that was also kind of a new thing.
Well, yeah, so when these local yokels break in, to which again, even as the setup when they're like, oh, we can go do this so that he loses his job, it's like, oh, you're murder fodder because
yes, you had to have someone.
You can't have stuff happen to Hunger Games because then if it did, he just wouldn't go back.
That's why they should have did all the kills with those animated opening. That's why you should have had that.
Which is fine.
Should have done flashbacks.
Like even like when they're setting up as like, that's fine. Again, in any horror movie, sometimes you can kind of like, oh, you are here to be murdered. So we have some people to murder.
That's completely fine.
But immediate question that sprang up for me was
Springtrapped up for you?
So once they start breaking stuff,
yes,
we are shown the animatronics wake up, but not on stage. I think it looked like they were back in the store. Whatever. That doesn't matter where they were. They wake up and it's like, oh, okay, so they know that they're trashing the place and they're angry. I track that. Although now, knowing the whole story, is like, why the fuck would they care? If they only kill when Matthew Lillard tells them to or whatever, you don't really care about the building.
So this is
presumably. So it's unless it's a magical building. So why do you give a shit that they are in here? And you shouldn't, because we're told that homeless people and vagrants and other people have been in there.
Right.
And I assume that they didn't all get murdered. But anyway, they wake up, they start killing these guys. And yeah, the first one who gets killed, he's in like the kitchen. I think the cupcake is, or no, I don't know. Oh yeah, the cupcake is fucking around in the fridge.
Yeah.
And then for some reason the fan starts.
But that's just because it's a reference to the game.
I also think it's to draw your attention, like, look back here, because in a second. And it is like, it doesn't focus on it. It's a very like almost John Carpenter style, like side of the frame. If you keep looking, you'll see like Chica walk past, and it is very, you're right too. It's like, it's very smooth. I was like, oh, nice. It's quiet. She's not making a single noise, but whatever. Because I wanted more of that. And I'll get to one of my complaints with that too, is that I thought they would use a security camera more. Because they really don't. Yeah,
you think they would.
And specifically in this scene, actually. But the other issue I had was, so that dude gets got. He didn't have a chance. Cupcake eats him, I guess.
And we see his nod off face later. Anyway.
I thought that was a security guard's face.
Oh, you know what? That's a good point.
So who knows?
Either one. Someone's face got fucked up.
Doesn't matter. Because in this town, cops aren't investigating any of this. Or there aren't any cops. Other dude hears and or sees that and like starts to run off.
Yes.
Third dude who's in the security room sees that guy running around on the monitors to run. My first question was, why is he running deeper into the building? I'm pretty sure I thought you were near the front of the building, so why wouldn't you just run out of the building?
Yeah,
Again, that's forgivable. Like horror movie, we gotta have kills, but it's just like, then I don't know, don't show me him run around so much. And then he locks himself in a store and was like, that's okay.
And that's the thing too with the games is the first place the robots go when
is the storeroom
after the second night is Chica goes to the kitchen, Bonnie goes to the storage room, and then like Foxy stays in his hole and Freddy kind of roams.
So for a fan of the game, like I'm sure that was very nice and fun and just like, oh look, they're doing it all correctly. Yeah, cool. But as a movie, and it's
stupid character makes stupid decision in a horror movie. That's a pretty big trope.
Which again, that part I'll let go. I was like, okay. And then is that Bonnie?
Yeah. The one.
Bonnie was in there with him all and waited because she's a horror movie villain. It's like, gotta wait until you turn around to see me before I'm going to kill you. Yeah. But it was a good reveal. It didn't jump scare me or anything, but like the light flickered and it's like, oh,
that's fun.
She's in there. That was fun. But when that third guy was watching that, I was like, oh, this is, and they don't do it. It's like, this is a great moment of, because I think something comes for him I think the cupcake comes for him.
Yeah, they put it in
he gets the grate back up on the vent.
Yeah, the vent.
And I was like, oh, we're going to have a little section where it's basically the game where like he's got to keep different like
I wanted that.
Things like closed and they've already set up like the power is weird.
And that's actually in the second game. There is a vent you have to keep closed. So
I thought like do that. And again, a good little, it wouldn't have been scary, but like creep factor would be like, don't focus on the monitors, like focus on him doing stuff, but have things going on in those monitors back there.
Like
if I'm paying attention, be like, I saw Foxy walk.
Like that's my biggest complaint is they never do the Foxy running, which is the funniest animation in the entire game.
I think they just make it look like he floats towards you.
Yeah, because
the two times that he jets forward towards somebody.
Because in the game he just kind of like runs forward at like Mach speed with his arms outstretched, and it just looks funny. That's where they should have done that. They should have had his cove open up and him run out of it, and in the background I would have liked that while he's trying to like keep that shut and maybe something else shut.
Yeah, and that's regardless of that character dying, and like the babysitter dies too, and her death we'll get to it in just a second. But yeah. But that seemed like, man, what a real missed opportunity. That it's not even like a cost thing, because like that would be cheap. Fuck, you could CG the things into the monitors. You don't have to actually do any of it.
And also, you can literally record that separately.
And while I know that there
real
are
time.
8, 9 fucking games at this point, the core of the game.
There's 4.
Well, there are 5 actual Five Nights at Freddy's.
The 5th one is kind of a fan made.
Then there's the sister location.
That's the 2nd game.
I thought it was like a completely separate, like subtitled.
I don't know. I'm just messing with you.
But again, like that's the core conceit.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like just do it because it became clear. He's like, well, you're not going to do it with Hunger Games. Also, because he goes to sleep every night he comes to work. And also,
you know what? I'll give him credit. He really did act like he's a guy who does nothing but sleep.
He did.
He looked miserable.
It also became annoying to me.
It did.
Between him and the beginning with his sister too being, I guess, kind of weird, and it's just people not talking. It's like, oh my god, like do something.
The little girl though was probably the best actor in the entire movie.
Once she became a part of the plot, she was more fun.
Yeah.
And better once she stopped being weird.
Yeah, exactly.
And obstinate, I guess. But yeah, that
she's against the plot of the movie. Like she doesn't want to drive it forward at all.
Like that whole bit, like that really kind of pissed me off of like, why didn't you do this? Because he immediately leaves the security room. And then he also backs himself into a corner. Is like, why wouldn't you have left?
Yeah.
Like okay. And then babysitter comes in and cliche horror things like, oh, are you here? Are you here? And then like a little boy shows up, is like, follow me, and runs away into the darkness. And she follows, of course. And then she walks into a room where Freddy is, not Golden Freddy. Freddy.
No, that's Golden Freddy.
Was that Golden?
Yeah,
I don't remember it being messed up, but
you never see all you see is just a mouth.
I'll take your word for it. And then the little boy's like, warmer or closer? I don't know which one he says. So she gets closer to it, and she gets a chair to like stand up and like look in its mouth, because I guess she thinks that the kid is in there.
Which he is.
Which technically is. But we are also seeing what she's seeing, and the camera's right up in the fucking mouth. Is like, there's not a kid in there. Like it's gears. Like you can see like it's. So what are you leaning in for? And then like a hand comes out of the mouth, which again is also confusing. Like, so are the ghost children, are they tangibly real?
Yeah, I have no idea on that one.
And we cut to this shadow shot because we've got to keep this PG-13 rating. And she just gets chomped in half. And we also cut to the shadow shot because like, there's no way you can believably do that. Of like, how did you drag her all the way into its mouth?
Right, yeah.
To get, I just thought you'd get her like head bet, or that it would like chomp on her.
It should have just been her head, because that was what the reference was, because that's how the kid died.
But that is what made me laugh out loud.
It made me laugh too. I think it is kind of meant to be comedic. They showed that in the trailer too.
I do think it was meant to be kind of comedic, I guess. But again, my laugh was like, I'm not laughing because why you wanted me to. I'm laughing because also like it's the goriest kill in the movie.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not the only kill, but it's the only kill we actually watch. But it looks, even in the shadow, like it looks so cheesy.
It looks so stupid, yeah.
But is the only motion that the movie got out of me.
It reminded me of that Banana Splits horror movie that came out a few years ago.
So I didn't take notes of, because that was Warner Brothers, I think.
Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah, it's Hanna-Barbera, so yeah.
Apparently Warner Brothers had the rights to FNAF at first, did, yep. And had a script for it, and obviously then they lost the rights and other stuff. And like I know Scott Cawthon has said there were a bunch of scripts that got rejected,
right?
And that Banana Splits movie apparently is using large portions of the script that Warner Brothers had for FNAF.
Yes,
I've not watched the Banana Splits movie.
I have watched it,
like a YouTube video about it, and also I didn't grow up. I mean, I guess I grew up in the era that show actually existed, and I don't fucking remember Banana Splits.
No, that was the 60s.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I didn't remember it at all.
I had a couple VHS tapes where it had reruns from Boomerang on it.
But I would be interested now to watch it and see if, I mean, with the clips I've seen, like I know it's super camp as fuck.
Oh yeah,
and it's just like
it's
borderline porn star acting. But
yeah, it's stupid.
But I also imagine, like, I bet you fucking set up and explain why any of this is happening at all. And I know from watching the clips, like I know that the fucking things are a big part of. They're not animatronics.
Yeah, they are. They're machines.
Are they machines in that? Okay.
Yeah, it's like the entire plot of that movie is they're trying to reboot the Banana Splits, so they made like AI robots to be the new guys, because the other ones are dead now because they're old.
And like I said, I've already praised this movie for the animatronics. Jim Henson's work was great. And I even specifically like the eyes. And I like that when they're angry, I guess. The eyes glow yellow. And then clearly, I think Foxy's maybe the only one that, no, Freddy does it once.
I'm so happy you brought this one up.
When they're straight up just in evil mode, it's like, no, my eyes are red now.
So,
and that is the legit only scary scene in this movie to me, was when Local Yokel watching on the monitors, when Chica puts the cupcake in the thing, but I think it's Chica and Bonnie.
Yeah, they're like,
and it's like they know that he's there and they know which one he's like. They look at the monitor just to be like, "Yep, that is creepy," because it is an inanimate object, but it seems like they do have to see with their eyes, and that was, I guess, it wasn't scary, but legitimately creepy. And that was the only time in this movie where I was like, oh, ooh. Because also, this is the really only time where the animatronics are doing what I expect of Five Nights at Freddy's.
So the eye colors have a purpose, and that is the fact that I think when they're white, that means the children are controlling the robots. When they're yellow, Afton is controlling them. And when they're red, they're in a complete rage and nothing's controlling them. It's just unbridled rage.
So in the magic, the curse of this, the reason they can move is because the kids, they're possessed.
Yeah, their spirits are like, and that's the thing that games have never explained. That's like the overall mystery.
I think because Scott doesn't know.
Yeah,
because this game, if you look up the history of FNAF, like it's also made he made it as a reaction to another game he played.
Yeah. But that's the big thing. So yeah, the yellow is Afton's controlling them.
So when in that case, I guess from the game, because again the movie doesn't do anything. Is he there? Is he at the pizzeria?
Probably not, but whatever he is, he's at least wearing the helmet of his suit.
So is his suit is it like the Ghidorah head in Godzilla vs. Kong?
Probably.
Because the way it looked in the movie, once we see it and it comes off, like it just looked like it didn't even look like they're animatronics or anything.
No,
in the head. They just look like a fucking mascot.
That's because there's two different types of suits. The ones that the Freddy's are, and they're a different type of robot. They're the ones that have like a way like that someone could operate inside of it.
I mean, they do set that up and they explain that. And I think Vanessa even explains when we're looking at the not sister location puppet.
They're like, that's
an
lock.
Old one.
And that was his first ones. That's the one he wears. And that's what the original Golden Freddy was as well. So someone
I'm guessing in the
someone
lore,
could wear it.
Is he also the one who made these suits?
Yes. Yeah, he was the inventor of all this stuff.
Does this movie take place in Nebraska?
Yes, I think it does. Maybe.
Because
actually, I don't know.
When Hunger Games is trying to do his dream stuff, he's got a poster in Nebraska because I assumed because that's where I guess that they were.
That's a good question.
When the kidnapping happened. But then to me, that makes it, if we're not still in Nebraska, it makes it more unbelievable in a movie of living animatronics that Afton happened to kidnap his brother there. I don't know.
That's a good question. That's definitely a plot hole or a setup for a sequel.
Just unnecessary. Like, I mean, but they even draw attention to it because when we first meet Vanessa and she's in that room, she goes like, times. "Why Nebraska?" Which he doesn't answer. Which is another issue I have with this movie. If the dialogue is not bad, Vanessa's is bad.
And also Afton's at the end is pretty terrible too. But it was also like lifted straight from the book, which is just as terrible.
And I mean, you give it to Matthew Lillard, he's gonna elevate it. I'll give credit to him.
Oh no, yeah,
his performances.
He did good.
I mean, it's not like it's not like great something, but like
he's
a good actor, and he's an actor too who knows, like, you can go watch the terrible not Dungeons and Dragons, what's the other Uwe Boll movie, Dungeon Siege.
I have no idea on that one.
He's in, and like that motherfucker's just chewing the scenery because he knows what. But there's a lot of dialogue in this movie of people like talking or asking questions or saying something, and the other character just
straight up
ignores it.
Yeah. It's really frustrating.
And Vanessa is a central aspect of this, especially once it becomes clear that she does know something else, and she also goes back and forth. Like I
don't get it on that one.
The first time that Abby, the little sister, is brought to the pizzeria, or second time, I guess, Vanessa is there already, which again was like, hey, are you going to ask how she got in? Does she have a key to the pizzeria? Why does this cop have a key to the pizzeria? And Vanessa's like okay with Abby being there, kind of.
Like,
and then
they
have a fun little like hangout. They build a fort and do all these things.
I actually really like that scene. I think that might have been my favorite scene of the whole movie because
that's where I thought like, oh, are they going to make it where the animatronics are like good guys? Granted, again, I don't know all the story and lore.
The entire time their eyes are white. They're just being kids excited to play with someone.
And then she gets like shocked, and then Abby just immediately goes off on Hunger Games like, you can do whatever you want with your life, but don't you ever bring her back here. Right, and then he even asks why, and she's just like, don't. And I was like, bitch, fucking
but also like
even down to like when he's like fucking with the sister puppet thing, and she explains like that's an old one, like don't do it, and she demonstrates the spring trap, which is clear Chekhov's gun of like, well, that's gonna come into play.
It has to, yeah.
Then he mentions like, you clearly know a lot about this place. Do you want to tell me like
anything?
Why? And she's like, I can't. And then at the end when she's kind of like helping him and stuff, she's like, I tried to tell you in my own way. I feel like they had to put it in there like in my own way, and I almost in my own home was like, the fuck you did in your own way.
Yeah.
You just went back and forth.
I know in the games that, like, I don't know if it's like one of those games. It's like
I assume that she was made up, and then pulling my notes for today and getting a little bit of stuff is like, nope, Vanessa's a character in the game. I was like, huh,
I don't know if it's like one of those like games where it's like an alternate reality or something like that, but I know in one of them she starts wearing her own bunny suit and just killing people.
I thought that's what was going to happen, and especially because I think that time when they show up, she's staring at the pictures on the wall and she's looking at the yellow bunny. To where I thought, like, are you the yellow bunny, or were you one of these kids that got kidnapped but you got away? Or
I think because they leaned into it, and he's like, I mean, when in the yelling scene at the end, when he's like, all this is your fault, it kind of makes me think she was one of the ones that bullied the kid and put his head in the fucking bear.
Like, he's like, to clean up the mess that you made.
I think that she might have been one of the ones that caused the original kid to be killed.
What you're just talking about, the head, the original kid, all of that, like, it's not in the movie. It's not in dialogue. I mean, maybe it's in the pixel art shit.
It is.
But also, like, am I supposed to relate that this pixel art person is a Vanessa?
And that's the frustrating thing, is like, that's all from the second game, which they're clearly setting up for as the sequel movie. So it's like,
and I mean, I'll say this:
it's too much jumping.
Matthew Lillard he said he signed a 3-movie contract. Scott Cawthon said if it's successful, like, we'll do it, 2 and 3. And before it even came out, according to Jason Blum, it was already successful.
Right. Yeah.
And after this weekend, like, it could make no more money, and like you did fine. You made over $100 million worldwide. You cost $20 million to make. They're definitely going to make another one.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure most of the $20 million was the hints and suits being made, and like those are already made now.
Yes.
So, but yeah, and that was another. I'm glad you brought that up, because I don't know if I wrote that down. Like, when Matthew Lillard says that at the end of like the mess that you made, I was like, oh, is there more history here? Or then I was like, oh, or is he talking about the fact that like she had one job to do, although she had 2 jobs, and that was like the running gag of this movie. Because he says, when he's interviewing Josh Hutcherson, he's like, you got one job to do, this and this. And he's like, that's 2 jobs. And same fucking thing with the daughter. And I was like,
I guguess that's also talking about like a reference to him being the owner of the place and also faking like a life on the surface.
So you're telling me that there's lore, or it's a lore change that Afton is going by a different name?
I think they kind of mixed 2 characters into one.
And that Vanessa is his daughter. That's not from the game.
Yeah.
Because that also led me to believe or made me questions like, so she knows that her dad is this kind of person. You don't have to explain that to me. I mean, it's weird, but like, okay. But
in the games, I think the owner is a separate person.
But then I was like, do you know where your dad is? Like, are you covering for your dad still? I mean, I guess, because like you talk about the turnover rate here, and like you clearly come here all the time still, which is also weird. Of like, it seems like this would be childhood trauma for you, regardless of if you were involved in anything. And then there's the other thing that's frustrating, and she's like getting Hunger Games ready to go save his sister, and he's like, come with me. And she's like, no, I won't be, because if he's there, I won't be of any use to you. And it was like, why? Does he have a magic power over you? I mean, just because he's your dad, like, you clearly know he's an evil person. And then she does just show up, which of course she does.
Yes.
But here's the question that I had, that this is a plot hole. She gives him keys before he leaves, and then we're showing him driving the cop car.
Yes.
So clearly the keys were like, she gave him her keys. So how does she get to the pizzeria if he drove her cop car?
That's a good question. Did she run? Did she hoof it?
Right? That was the immediate thing when she showed up, was like, you can't, why are you here?
Wait, did she take the fucking taxi? Is that why the balloon boy jump scares at the end?
No, because apparently that's supposed to be the rest of that cab driver's night after he dropped off Abby and Golden Freddy, who also, again, this is what's weird. So when he drops off Abby and Golden Freddy, and they're standing in front of the pizzeria, and like Abby steps forward, and then she turns back around and Freddy's gone. So it's like, so is the animatronic a ghost? Because it clearly had weight in the taxi, and now it's just gone.
I don't even remember that part.
Like some of this reminded me of Don't Worry, Darling, in the sense of, I feel like you just want to do weird shit, and you're just like, I'm not going to bother. Don't worry about explaining it.
Or like some kind of weird editing error happened where they had to cut something and it doesn't make sense now.
And down to, and I mean, we've skipped over a lot of stuff. I apologize, folks. But then at the end where Afton gets spring trapped, but I guess he's still alive. And he's like, I'll come back. I always come back. Which then was like, have you been murdered before? Like, are you super now?
It doesn't make sense the way he says it there, but that's what happens when you get a game over in the second game.
But the pizzeria also starts to fall apart.
I couldn't give you an answer for that one.
And like, first there's just a shot of like a light falling. And I was like, okay, whatever. That's a weird cutaway shot. Then there was another one, and then it's like the ceiling is collapsing as our heroes run out, and I was like, why?
Yeah, I have no clue on that one.
And also, like, and this is what I was getting at earlier too, is like, is the building haunted? Do they have power over the building? Because numerous times in this movie, doors just open. Oh yeah, not electronic doors, just a door just opens on its own.
I don't know that it's like the spirits are physically able to move around too. That's one of those things is like it's very confusing.
I think that
Is the balloon boy? Is he just like waddling around on the floor?
And another thing too with this movie, FNAF is what the whole point of it is built on. It's a jump scare. It's a jump scare game. There aren't any jump scares in this.
And if I mean,
I think the balloon boy is supposed to be, but like the way it was shot and even the music sting, like
he's supposed to be annoying, and that's what he does in his game. Is he just pisses you off?
It down to that ending stinger scene of him jump scaring the cab driver is like, again, I'm sure for like fans of the game, like nothing. Not that it would have probably made me jump, but it's like I kind of wanted jump scares in this. I guess
like at least the classic one where they jump at the screen. It should have had that at the end or the beginning.
No. The stinger scene should have been
absolutely
in your like if you've seen the movie Sinister. Mm-hmm. Which is okay up until the very end when literally he jump scares the audience by just looking at them.
Yeah.
That would have made sense in this movie.
It would have.
And I would have laughed at him, like called it corny, but I would have also been like, at least that to me is leaning into.
We never get the classic Freddy scream either from the game.
I don't know, just scream.
Yeah, because that's the famous thing is his sound that he makes when he screams. And
I listened to someone else talk about the fact that like Foxy always hums before he kills anybody, and he's the only one I guess in the games that can talk or
I guess
kind of vocalize. The other ones only do have the pre-recorded stuff that they can.
Yeah, Freddy laughs and he screams, and also
I kind of felt like actually. I don't know if this is in the games too. Like, kind of feel like Freddy was one of the lesser animatronics.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal was with that.
Foxy and Chica really seem to get much more screen time. And I guess Foxy is more terrifying looking.
Yeah, and he's also the more threatening one. Like he's fast.
He's also the one that's degraded. It doesn't.
No, he just looks like that.
That's what he looked like before.
Because he's a pirate.
But I mean, like he had holes in his chest. Like I could see the.
Well, that
and also his feet.
That's decayed, but his feet always look like that.
That was my. I mean,
it's a peg leg.
This was the first nitpick where I was like, this is me nitpicking, but like when Vanessa first turns them on and she's like super elated to do it.
Yeah.
And she's like, isn't this the most amazing thing you've ever seen? I was like, what? I mean, I get it if you came here as a kid and like this has some nostalgia for you, but like we've all seen Chuck E. Cheese animatronics. And like, I know these are like special ones, but like
the song that they sing there was pretty cool though. I like that.
Was that not a licensed song?
Yeah, it was a licensed song. It was
In Your Dreams Tonight.
Talking in Your Sleep by the Romantics, which is thematically appropriate. I like that because as soon as he starts singing, he looks right at Josh Hutcherson. He's like, I'm talking to you in your dreams.
But when she turned them on and they started moving, first of all, even when Josh turned on the power there, I was like, there ain't no way this place is. You told me this is 2001 and this place closed in the 80s. There ain't no fucking way half of this shit turns on or is functional. Especially like the sign out front, which also was like, why would that even turn on? Like, why wouldn't that have its own separate thing? But whatever.
The Centipede game, its screen looks so clear.
But the fact that like the animatronics one functioned at all, which again, I admitted to myself like this is a nitpick, and also I know like, well, they're cursed, so like I mean they would, but
they're also supposed to be like super advanced technology. But
the fact
once
that
again, you wouldn't know that
they weren't, other than Foxy, like none of them were degraded or rotting. It's like I don't know if it's because I know like theme park history stuff, and I know it's like animatronics do not last very long, especially if they're not maintained at all.
Yeah,
and
which I think like that's a thing is Afton is actively working on them
right now. Go Google search the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from the first movie.
Oh yeah,
and look at because I think they're preserved, but like their faces are rotting, and that would have been fucking terrifying. And I do know later on like there are Five Nights characters that look like that.
Probably yeah. The Yoshi from the Mario Brothers movie is also a good one to look at.
Yep.
All those puppets from the Mario Brothers movies, and that was 93, and they look horrifying.
So that was my first like, they wouldn't look this good.
And I agree, but
and also was like, what is with this fucking cop? And also from her introduction was like, so you're just cop exposition?
Yeah,
because I mean she shows up for really no fucking reason.
She just does nothing but just exposition.
Like, let me dump some exposition on you. And then when she goes to visit him at his house, or maybe it's when she's chastising him for people getting in, which is also like, why do you know? And also, did you investigate the building? Did you find the dead bodies?
But also that's my problem is you let people get in. My brother in Christ, you hired me to be a night security guard. That happened in the daytime.
Well, she was blaming that he wasn't paying attention. He didn't lock a door when he left, and that's how they got in.
Also, they broke the door down.
Because that's what I was thinking the whole time too. When she started going, I was like, it's not his job is to guard it at night. Mm. But I was like, lock the door. Like, I feel like you left the same time he did.
You're right.
And that scene was him locking the gate. Like, and then from what we learned from you later in the movie, is like, you know all the ways in. And it appears that the front door is the only way in other than the little hatch at the back.
That doesn't really make any sense.
But then he's like, do you want to take a walk? And really he's like, instead of take a walk, it should have been like, do you want to transition scenes real quick so we can not have this conversation on the porch?
He should have said, you want to take a nap?
And then he's like, now I'm going to exposition on you and give you the backstory of where my parents are and my brother and all this stuff that shouldn't matter.
And then she throws his sleep pills away, which is also like, you shouldn't do that, because if he goes cold turkey on that stuff, he's going to be, you don't want him security guarding at night, because he's going to be like, ugh. So he has to go get new pills. Which
so,
also, he's a dick to that medicine, like the pharmacy guy, for no reason too. That was weird.
I almost felt it was weird. And I almost felt like it's like, is this just so you can get a curse word in this movie? Because I think that's the only time anyone.
I think someone says bitch.
Yeah, I think the aunt says it.
Yeah.
But that
was weird, because
it also serves no purpose. Like, okay, of all the other things that you haven't told me or shown me, like, where did the cab come from? You're like, let's make sure people know he got more sleeping pills.
Yeah.
Great.
And yeah, let's let Josh Hutcherson overdose on sleeping pills.
And again, to go back to my issue of, it didn't strike me until this morning. I watched this last night of, oh shit, is his brother in one of them? Because like, he would have to be, right? If Afton made a point to say like, I killed your brother. It's like, well, it appears everyone you kill, you put in these suits. So, which also in this movie so far doesn't make sense of like, so do you killed these 4, 5, whatever, 6 kids?
There's more than that. But
and then you didn't do anything else? Because like, we're only seeing 4 or 5 things here. So, which I get it. I know that more stuff has to come or whatever, but it's like, serial killers don't normally just stop.
I think.
And again, showing me that it's been at least 10 years since his brother got kidnapped.
Yeah.
But the first time Josh, I think he gets attacked or he cuts himself in one of his dreams, and Vanessa's like, you're bleeding. I think it's when they first meet.
Yeah,
and
Foxy scratches him.
And he realizes that dude is nonplussed about that. He just moves on.
Yeah. I would be like, what the fuck is that?
Which again is like, was my issue with the brother being in a suit. Is like, it's fine. And you explain the lore, like, yes, he is. Oh boy, character here doesn't either one, put it together or ask or anything. Just like, nah.
Yeah, you think
for as much as you wanted to find your brother, you wouldn't be like, cool, found you.
Because he keeps telling the little girl to ask them, but she never gets the chance to.
No, she does. When they leave the fort that they built, Vanessa and Hunger Games, to go get a tablecloth to put a roof on it. And when he leaves, he tells Abby, hey, remember to ask them. So she had the moment. We don't see it. And also, I don't think nothing's ever come.
That's what I said. We don't ever get that.
But also, if his brother is one of them, or somewhere in there, if he's in the Golden Freddy, wherever he is, and if you're also telling me his ghost is the one that's talking to Abby, like, wouldn't you recognize your brother and be like, hey,
I don't know.
I missed you. I'm glad that you were here.
That's the weird one. And it's like, I feel like that's the setup for the sequel, because the character that will appear in the next one is called the Puppet. And basically it was the mom character of the first boy. She was killed and put into the puppet. But for some reason, the puppet is able to take the souls of people and put them into the robots. So she doesn't actually even remember which one is her son. She's looking for him. And that's why she is killing everyone, is because she has all these rage fits.
I know from my degrading memory and the few game theories that Otto played that went into the FNAF lore. And now, just from this discussion, I think this has too much lore. It's also very clear, like, you're obviously making it up as you go.
It's taking that, like,
and you're super convoluting it. But in a video game, that can kind of work. And also because, like, especially in that video game, like, generally speaking, I do know that the fans clearly do care about the lore, but like, the story doesn't really fucking matter. Like, they just want to get jump scared and click on stuff.
It reminds me of those things like that Red Letter Media video where they just read off the functionality of Darth Vader's suit, where it's like, this is all so stupid, it doesn't matter. It kind of feels like that, where there's so much stuff in the background where it's like, I don't need to know why Freddy's head is sideways, like that kind of stuff.
And again, I think if you go back, and I'm sure numerous times when I've mentioned Zack Snyder's DC run, and specifically Batman versus Superman, and like that there's like, they don't explain some stuff about like how a character would behave or whatever. It's like, well, Zack's assuming like that, this because like he's making it for the fans. But in that movie, there's nothing that's so glaring or like questionable, like, why would this character do this, or who is that character? You're just like, oh, you move on.
Yeah.
I mean, people hate that movie too, but like it doesn't stick with you. This is just like, wait, what is any of this?
And that's
and just because you know that you're going to make a sequel, which is fine, shit still has to, like,
you can't make the one and not be ready to, like, it's like asking your audience to be like, all right, all this will make sense in the next one is not fun. That's not a good thing to do.
No. And I would relate it to now one of my favorite shows, Westworld, which is also very convoluted.
Super convoluted. It still tells a full story in the first season.
Yeah, which means most people are like, they should have stopped at one season. And you can if you want to, like it works as its own thing. But a lot of people didn't like season 3, me included. It's my least favorite. But after watching season 4, I was like, oh, it doesn't recontextualize season 3. But it's like, I get what's happening. And with Westworld, it was a planned 5-season story, which is not going to happen. But it was clear like, oh, season 3 was like the middle and it's a turning point. And in the context of the whole 5-season series,
whole 5-night season,
it probably would be improved by the story being completed. Actually, I'd argue the same thing for Zack Snyder's DC run. It's like, if you just wait and let him finish the whole thing, you'll like it more. This doesn't have that feeling. This has a feeling of like, you didn't answer any questions for me, and everything is very confusing and it made it unsatisfying.
Yeah.
But I could tell, it's like, but this fucking makes sense to anyone who's fucking played any of the games.
Yeah.
Or read, they're into the FNAF fandom, to where this might be the most made for the fans movie.
I think I agree with
I've
that
ever
too.
seen.
Like, there's so much going on. There are certain things that when I was watching the movie, and like I know stuff about it, but I don't know everything. I'm like, I bet whatever I just saw there makes sense, because I had to look it up because I just didn't remember. But at the end, there's a mirror, and written on it is "It's me."
Yeah, I saw that too.
Apparently,
I thought that was a Taylor Swift reference.
Oh. Apparently that's like the Golden Freddy baby brother trying to tell him, hey, I'm here, but he can't communicate like the other ones can. That there's something up with him. I don't know what that's about, but that was also like, well, this is in the sequel, and also it's at the end of the movie. Okay, sequel set up. In the credits plays this after the song.
It's distorted. I couldn't make out that it was a voice, but reading the IMDb trivia, it's Matthew Lillard saying, come find me, which I assume is like, so I guess it's from the game.
But the music that's playing is the
music from the
puppets music. So it's like that, what, that's cool. But I think the most impressive thing about this movie, well, all those people, well, yes, but also just like notable members of the community being able to be in the movie, like Matpat. Like, I don't think we really spoke about him being in the movie, but just finding a natural way for him to say it's just a theory was kind of insane. You don't really see that stuff. Like, compare that to
it was, even though it also, like, once I rewatched that scene, like it was natural-esque.
To get someone to say that phrase in real life was already like, how are you going to do that?
And I mean, it stopped me cold in what I was doing, because I was paying attention to the movie, but I was folding laundry. And when I heard, because he says like, lunch is the most important meal of the day. Someone's like, isn't it breakfast? It's like, that's just a theory. Like, it stopped me. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. And like, you compare it to like Ed Sheeran in Game of Thrones, where it's like, I've never heard that song before. And he's like, it's new. It's like, shut the fuck up. Like, it's kind of crazy how like it's essentially the same type of a cameo, but it works so much better.
I'll give this credit too of what little things that I did know, and then things that I don't know, but I could tell, like, I know it's a reference or an Easter egg or whatever. It didn't feel pandering or fan service heavy in regard, like it felt natural enough. Like even the balloon boy thing, like I think I vaguely knew that, like, that's a thing. I probably confused it with the puppet, because I don't play these games. I don't really know anything about them, but like I see shit. And obviously when it popped up the second time, I was like, well, it's clear. This is clearly a thing.
And yeah, I think that's just because he just shows up to annoy you in the game. Like he's the one like fucks with you. It's like, I'm going to turn this computer monitor off. You got to turn it back on now. Haha.
So,
also before I forget, Matt Pat's name tag is Ness, because it's like his most infamous video was a character from one game is Ness from Earthbound. Apparently that's all the creator asked of him if he's going to be in the movie, that his name had to be Ness, because it's funny.
I did not notice the name tag. I didn't
either. I just saw someone else told it to me.
Does it say Matt Pat?
Yeah. But I was like, oh, that's cute. And also the credit song being The Living Tombstones, Five Nights at Freddy's, is one of those things that's actually insane to hear that in a movie.
I guess I didn't. I wanted to read one of these reviews.
Let's read some reviews.
I guess I didn't copy this one, but one of the reviews, one mentioned the song at the end of the credits and some other stuff. And it was like, this made me cry. I was like, made you cry? Like, it was, it's fine if this is your fandom, this is something you really enjoy, and like, honestly, if it is, and from what little I'm seeing and what little I'm hearing from you right now, clearly this movie is probably one of the more accurate of like, here, everything that you want, like here it is.
So this is actually insane. Like you said, it made them cry, and I know why. It's because they were an actual child when that song was out, and now they're an adult.
The other thing I was realizing too is like, if this is, I guess this is a fucking kid's, or whatever. But Five Nights at Freddy's is almost 10 years old.
It's over 10 years. I was still in high school when the first one came out.
I thought it didn't come out until 2014.
I was still in high school. I guess it hasn't been quite 10 years yet.
So it's almost 10 years. And the movie has been in development since, I want to say this is 2015 because I want to say like, the first 2 or 3 games came out in like a year.
And that song also came out in 2014.
So before I even started this, I was kind of like, I wonder if this is going to kind of be a bomb because like, I know FNAF is still popular, just like Minecraft is, which also apparently is getting a fucking movie.
Yeah, let's see how that goes. Jason Momoa.
It was like 8 years on, kind of like maybe you missed the mark. But then also like, well, for kids who were into this, if they were 9 or 10.
They're adults now.
They are adults. But I guess I don't know the ages of any of the reviewers I've heard on Rotten Tomatoes, but clearly, some of them mentioned that this was their childhood, and it's like, okay, to go back to the nobody investigating any part of this, it's fine. You can excuse the ones in the pizzerias, like I guess no one goes. Oh yeah, who gives a shit? But the aunt was just murdered in your house.
I didn't even think about that.
And then I guess nothing does come of that.
Oh, that's hilarious. I never even thought about that. Yeah, she was just dead on the floor.
Because like, what are you gonna like?
Unless
you have that in any horror movie where it's something supernatural, where you're kind of like, yeah, cool, the movie's over and you solved your problem, but like, you gotta explain all this shit to like the cops and like, how?
It would have been better to have this on Halloween, so at least the taxi thing would make more sense.
At that point, too, Josh Hutcherson is beat the fuck up.
Yeah,
because he got attacked in his dream.
Which that's funny because
they don't explain how the dream stuff transfers.
Because I watched it with some people and they said that it would be absolutely hilarious if it's just all the robots in there are just like kicking him on the floor. That would be really funny.
But then also, he does get attacked by the robots when he wakes up.
Yeah,
and then he wakes up in the chair and he gets out. But yeah, he's all beat up and scratched and bloodied. And the cops would come and like, yeah, this woman's murdered and she was trying to take your sister from you and you look like you've been in a fight.
And also, you're in the hospital with a cop who has been stabbed.
Pretty sure that you did this and we're going to arrest you and definitely take your sister away from you.
Yeah.
All right, so
let's hear some reviews.
I'm going to read the first ones. These are audience reviews. The FNAF movie was amazing. Scott knew what he was doing. He included the most infamous moments from the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise that fans everywhere were begging to see.
Except the fucking do. I can't believe that wasn't actually in the movie.
I absolutely loved the story. That was all caps.
Okay.
Especially the scene where Abby was playing with animatronics like they were her friend. I've always wanted to see a moment like that in FNAF. However, I absolutely hated Abby's character. They portrayed her as the cliche little girl that has imaginary friends and ends up having some supernatural power. Like, why? This is why I copied this one, because it's like, you're complaining about cliche stuff, because like this movie is nothing but that. And also like,
that's probably the least cliche thing out of this entire movie.
And isn't everything going on right now supernatural? You don't have an issue with how this dude controls animatronics or why the fucking pizzeria fell apart or that the villain is beat by drawing a picture
and getting shot.
Well, it wasn't clear if the shot really he definitely reacted and seemed a little wounded.
It caused the suit to malfunction and start stabbing him, which also was pretty gory. That was good.
But I think that's the moment where people were complaining about gore that I guess they wanted more from the spring. Whatever. Yeah, but just Abby draws a picture to remind the spirits of the kids in the suits, like, no, he killed you. And as soon as she draws the picture, it's like, oh, all right. And they don't actually do anything to him. They're just going to stare at him. And then I guess you're right. It is the bullet that makes the suit malfunction. I thought it was them because as far as I've seen, like, I guess you guys are magical. I don't know. You're opening doors and doing other shit that.
Yeah, very strange.
And this guy goes on to go, I don't want to see Abby scribbling some goofy photo that ends up empowering Afton's powers overpowering Afton's powers over the animatronics. How is that even possible? How is any of this even possible, dude?
That's so funny.
That was Hectic B. This is Brianna C. While the Five Nights franchise is beloved for its horror and suspense, is it? I mean, I guess the games are kind of a little, I don't know. Labeling the upcoming movie as a cinematic masterpiece is a subjective and dependent on personal taste.
Cinematic masterpiece.
Keep in mind, this is a 5-star review. However, one could argue that the potential for the film to become a cinematic masterpiece lies in its unique fusion of horror and immersive storytelling. I didn't see any of that. By translating the game's eerie atmosphere, complex characters, and intricate lore onto the big screen, the movie has the opportunity to redefine horror cinema.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure this is legit. Like, I don't think this person's making a joke. Its ability to engage viewers emotionally, psychologically, and intellectually while expanding the FNAF universe could make it a groundbreaking work of art, thus earning the title of a cinematic masterpiece. It's the entirety of Brianna's review.
Thank you, Brianna.
Which led me to understand, like, I guess if you liked this franchise, like, maybe you thought this was a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Even for all my other nitpicks, I feel like the movie was boring. This is Abby Bernstein.
Okay.
As it is, the movie seems best suited for those. This is a real critic.
Oh, a real critic. Okay.
We're out of fans. But I got 2 positive critic reviews.
Okay.
Because there weren't very many.
No, there's not.
And even the ones that were positive, you'll see. As it is, this movie seems best suited for those who prefer their scares within boundaries and aren't too concerned with plot logic. That was the entirety of her review.
Okay.
Which I agree, because like plot does not have any logic to it. And I would argue that the scares are not a thing. I guess, again, if you're 9 years old, I guess some of it.
Yeah.
But like at the end when Abby's like hiding from Foxy and Foxy's at is Foxy a boy, girl? When they are at their most intimidating, I didn't feel any sort of suspense or tension for Abby. And I didn't dislike the character of Abby. I mean, I wasn't like enamored with her, but
you just can already feel that they're not going to kill this kid.
I knew they were going to kill a kid on camera, period. But
they should.
But even still, it's like I just didn't feel anything. And I remember thinking that in that moment, it's like I should feel something right now.
But also, she teleported too.
This one is from Empire Magazine. Creepy rather than scary. I guess I'd give it that.
That's fair.
And more a ghost story than a monster movie.
Absolutely.
Too. This has a good heart, but feels a little toothless for something with so many killer robots. That is a positive review, but I do agree with everything she said.
Yeah, I can definitely feel that one because
you'll know this reviewer.
Oh boy.
This is good old Doug Walker,
otherwise
known as the Nostalgia Critic.
Can you do it in his voice?
I can't sustain a yell that long.
Okay.
Almost worth a recommendation, but when a film, now we're in negative way.
Yes.
But when a film about animatronics killing has very little animatronics killing, many won't get their money's worth. And I agreed with that wholeheartedly. I didn't pay for it. And I was still like,
well, you did.
I guess. A horror film doesn't have to be R-rated to be good, but Five Nights at Freddy's feels like 30 minutes of interesting ideas padded out to almost 2 hours.
Yeah, because there's a lot you could cut out.
I wholeheartedly agree with that.
I think returning to the dream sequences was something that you could have cut completely.
The whole dream, the entirety of the dream thing, like I said, I get it that it was probably the thought of like, we got to flesh the story out and we also need setups to be able to get lore out.
I think flashbacks would have been a better idea.
But again, it felt separated. I didn't feel sleepy or whatever, but like Josh being in that state the whole time. And again, also doing the thing of like not necessarily answering people's questions or just ignoring comments like, oh my God. Give me something.
Yeah.
And yeah, like it did feel like, there's 30 minutes of like stuff here. And if it was only 30 minutes, I probably wouldn't question like why things were going the way they were going. Based on the popular horror video game, the movie starts out well with sympathetic characters, a fun design, and appealing comical tone. But it goes on too long and eventually falls apart.
Literally, huh?
I also agree, like by the third act of the movie, like I didn't feel like they had a grasp on like what, I don't know. I just didn't. I guess that I didn't feel like it fell apart.
Do you think Scott Cawthon was too overwhelmed? Do you think he wanted to put too much into the movie?
No.
You don't think so?
No, because he didn't put in almost anything in this movie.
But the stuff that he chose to, it could have been added.
His whole property and everything else. I mean, honestly, look. Old dude, from what a little bit I know about him and in the history of the other game he made and even Five Nights, like I think he's a pretty meh level game designer creator who literally got lightning in a bottle and got propelled by YouTubers jump scaring themselves and kids and being at the precipice of the era of kids enjoying watching people play video games instead of playing video games, which is an entire South Park episode. That propelled Five Nights to become what it is. Hence why there are 5 fucking mainline sequels, 2 of which I believe were able to come out within like 6 months of each other.
Oh yeah, really fast.
Because like this isn't anything, and like we just discussed, like the lore is convoluted and also clearly, I think now he's some stuff is being mapped out as like you're clearly just making shit up.
I think he said that he's not making any more games. Like he's retired as a game creator.
Why he doesn't need to?
And now he's writing movies. He doesn't need to at all.
He doesn't even need to do that. I'm sure he doesn't need to do that. I'm sure just literally coast
or sorry, want
on FNAF. Just, I mean, I wanted to snap back to something real quick because they're like the Matthew Lillard reveal. Like I said, I called in the interview. Was like, if you're not the bad guy, which I didn't know that I didn't think he was the killer. I guess because I didn't know that would be a thing. But it was like you're not just fishy. Like you are something. Also, you're Matthew Lillard. Like they didn't just have you in this movie for one scene.
Yeah, for one thing. Yeah.
And there was one other plot twist. In the dream sequence.
Yes.
And this was before he's even presented with the option of you can have your little brother back. I think he says something, or he's asking the dream kids and he's like, I'll give you whatever you want. Just like, tell me, like, help me. Out loud to myself, I jokingly, like in a voice was like, we want your sister. I think it's after they've hung out with Abby. It's like,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
want your sister. So then it actually comes to where they actually offer him his brother. And they're like, you said you give us anything we want. We want Abby. I was like, I mean, I wasn't even trying to call that, but like I did.
Yeah.
To where, I guess it's supposed to be a shock, but like it wasn't a shock.
No.
And this is the last review I have. Five Nights at Freddy's forgets to be fun or scary, limiting what genre effectiveness can be mustered up here. And again, these are all also ones that I agreed with.
Yeah, you just grabbed you up.
Because the parts like I wasn't having fun with it either. Like it seemed to want to take itself more seriously than maybe even the games do. But at the same time, like, how can you get away from the inherent silliness of a giant fucking animatronic bear killing somebody? And I do think that's honestly why a lot of the critics are shitting on this movie. Is like
it's very silly of an idea.
The immediate conceit is like you gotta accept this. But I think you can do that. Like, I mean, look, there's all sorts of campy shit. I bet when Toxic Avenger comes out, or Crusader,
Avenger,
that there will be positive critical reviews. I'm sure there'll be lots of negative ones too.
Yeah.
You can do this camp stuff. You can do ridiculous if it's a good, fun story. And this just wasn't fun. Like, I didn't have fun with it. And I think I would have had more fun staying in the pizzeria and focusing on that and not the missing brother. And
we should have stayed in the pizzeria
in the custody battle thing.
Yeah, we didn't need that.
Even down to, again, when
that could be a phone conversation.
When Hunger Games, I think this leads into the fifth night, which I was keeping track in my mind. I was like, is it 5 nights?
They're actual
and
5
nights. 5 nights. Which I almost felt like, well, you had to do that. Like, you couldn't get away without doing that. He calls somebody and says, hey, I need your help. Immediately I was like, I thought you're getting someone to, he is getting someone to babysit, actually. He's like, why didn't you call this person before when you couldn't get the actual babysitter? And also, you let that go too, if like babysitter just disappeared.
That sucks. Not my problem though. I got sleep.
And then it turns out to be the evil aunt. And when little sister Abby comes out, she's like, I hate you. I hate you, Hunger Games. Because she, at this point, she knows that like it's a possibility that, she could be taken away. And he tells her like, this isn't what you think it is. And then she like storms off and he just lets it go and is like, if it's not what she thinks it is, because that's also what I thought too, dude. What is, then we watched those scenes like, she's just going to babysit her. But it's like,
right. Could have told her that like immediately.
Why didn't you just tell her in the room before she came out and saw the aunt and just like, look, I need to go do something. I need someone to watch you.
Hey, little girl.
I can't get Max.
She's going to watch
babysit
you.
her. She's going to watch you. Well, we can't do that because we need to have all this other stupid setup and we need to have Golden Freddy come get her and blah, blah, blah. There's just, again, it goes into like characters not even behaving remotely believable. This isn't characters making dumb decisions in a horror movie. This was just like, talk.
That's what made the little girl the most like realistic actor. Is like she's the only one that was reacting like a normal person to some stuff.
Yeah.
Down to her like, hey, wait a minute, Chica, why are you trying to fucking kill me? Like, wait a second.
Yeah, and then she questions it when it's over. It's like, I don't know what's wrong with her. I don't know why she was doing that.
Yeah, like what the fuck was that?
Is it in the games like stun guns and electric batons? Is that a way to stop them?
I think in some of them,
or maybe
like
sister location,
like electricals, like because a lot of the stuff in this movie with all that stuff came from Security Breach.
I also had my thought was our question I had like when the murders, the 3 locals get murdered. I was like, isn't there security footage of?
Oh yeah.
But then I was like, well, this is 2001. Well, no, DVRs did exist, but this is a defunct place. Like you're not gonna have DVR in there. A VCR you're not gonna record every fucking day. But you do have security monitors.
Yeah.
To what end?
Outside of it just being that's the game, like logically. Mm-hmm. I will say I watched this with a group of friends, and that definitely made a lot of things more enjoyable.
Oh, I do want to point out real quick. I don't know if this is Tarantino inspired or not, but like the movie really does love Foxy's foot shots.
Oh yeah.
Like there's tons of just Foxy Tootsies just walking.
I don't know if it's just because he's the only one that has like a weird fucked up foot or
but you also never see you only either see his 2 unskinned mechanical feet walking or his upper half. You never see him in full move.
That's what
which
made
you mean
me
they
angry.
couldn't because they couldn't put someone in a suit to do that.
Yeah, it was only I think Bonnie and Freddie that had people inside of it, which is also really funny thinking about the context of the movie. There's actual people in the suits. I don't know. There's something funny about that. What if there is one of ththese cursed movies where someone died on set in a Freddy suit? That'd be really funny. Not for them, but it would be for the context.
So yeah, I do not recommend this movie. Other than I guess fuck it. It's Halloween. If you have Peacock, or if you don't, do what Nemo did. Free trial it up.
Yeah, I think it is worth watching just because of how different it is. I guess
know anything about FNAF, sure.
Yeah.
If you don't,
general audience, no.
Like
I wouldn't tell my dad to watch this.
didn't, if you clicked on this podcast and you're just like, I don't know don't watch this movie. I don't think.
Yeah, that's I think that's very fair to say.
I mean, and if you have any interest in the premise that we have laid out, wait 4 or 5 days, and I'm sure all the cool scenes will be on YouTube.
4 or 5 nights.
Good call.
I think it's worth watching if you have at least played the games for sure, or even watch Matpat videos.
If you've played the games or in any way have like, well, again, like I said, if you know anything about FNAF and you don't hate it, then sure, watch it. I would not pay full movie theater ticket price to go see this.
I'd say just play the game. Just go play the game.
It'd be more engaging.
You'll have more fun
and less doubt. It would be more fun.
And you'll probably enjoy the movie after you played a couple of them. So I will say, if you do want to know more about Five Nights at Freddy's lore in a really well done way, look up the video made by Wendigoon on YouTube. He does a really good job of kind of like timelining it out and explaining the insane, like huge backstory plot that's like spread across like Dark Souls lore where an item has parts of the story.
I'll tell you what though. Do you want us to read one of the books? Do you want that to be a special episode?
Like a story time.
You can do that if you email in. Where can people email us at?
At shallowcinemashow@gmail.com. Hey, let me ask you, would you
I watch this again?
No. Do you think the sequel will be better?
No.
You don't think so?
No, because why would it be? Why would they need to make it any better? One, they don't care what the critics are saying because the point of this was to make money, and it did. The audience from Rotten Tomatoes is reacting to it how they want.
The sheer amount of setup for a sequel in the movie.
Now, will I watch the sequel? It's on Peacock, sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, partially in hopes of like, please explain this to me more, or just give me the rules. Actually, that's all I need. Just give me the rules.
Personally, I do think the puppet design is the coolest robot. It's the only one that doesn't look like the other ones, so that's the only thing I'm kind of looking forward to. And also, I really like the purple guy, which is they kind of mixed him with.
That's what little reading I did. Apparently, that's what Afton is, the purple guy, and that is in the 8-bit.
Supposed to be 2 people.
Opening bit is the purple guy.
I also say the Living Tombstone songs. I think he has 5 of them, 1 for each game.
I'm sure.
Kind of explains the story, the deep lore story in the song, which is also kind of cool.
Let me ask you this:
Yes.
Do you think we'll only get 3 movies?
Probably. I think that might be the max. I don't think they'll do a 4 and a 5.
You don't think so? You don't think if all 3 of them make a profit of $100 million, like after everything else, like profit $100 million, you think they're just like, well, all right, we did 3, we're done, told our story.
I think it all, you know what? I think right now, 3. If 2 is a bigger success than this one, then 5.
I feel like this is going to go the route of Paranormal Activity and
They're just going to keep churning them out.
And yeah, I mean, that's what he did with the games. I think there's still, I don't know what the last one is, but there's been a recentish one. I think it's Pizza Simulator or something.
Oh, yeah.
And then if they leave Five Nights at Freddy's, this also spawned an entirely new genre of, I'm going to call them dipshit game. So we'll get a Hello Neighbor movie. We'll get a Poppy's Playtime movie.
Dude, let me tell you, the Hello Neighbor thing is one of the most embarrassing things ever. Their downfall, they were like begging Matpat on Twitter to make videos about them, and he was ignoring them. I don't know why, but that is really
they
funny
got to make 2 games, or 3 maybe? I know they made at least 2.
I don't know. That game sucked ass.
But
Poppy's Playtime, I don't understand.
I mean,
what's
Poppy's
caused
Playtime
that one to be so popular.
It's the same as Five Nights at Freddy's. It's
an adventure game.
It's not the jump scare aspect, but it is still the watching. I believe watching YouTubers get scared at this. Game Grumps just recently finally did it.
Oh, did they?
And I don't think it's Poppy. Whatever the monster is in that.
The blue thing.
Yeah.
Huggy Wuggy.
It's big, scary, creepy thing.
With the razor mouth.
In this childish place. I don't see why they wouldn't. Like, it's popular enough. Like, I don't see why. And this now will have only proved to someone else, like, oh shit, we should.
I think.
If someone hasn't already bought the rights to that, like
from my very
someone's bidding on it
limited
right
like
now.
knowledge of that game, it's like a puzzle solving game.
Yeah, it is. It's
kind of like Portal.
It's more of a game than Five Nights at Freddy's is, in my opinion. And Five Nights at Freddy's, I'm not shitting on it as a game. I think it just is a very simple game.
No, yeah, it's the point was just like click adventure.
It's point and click / resource management of you just got to manage.
You kind of got to get lucky in a way
to not get jump scared, and that's it. And in a way, before the lore got introduced into it, if you were going to make a movie out of it, you'd almost argue like, out of what? Like, there's not anything here to do.
That's kind of like our thoughts on the Minecraft one right now.
Making a movie out of Mario in the 90s.
Yeah.
Arguably even
now too. I could say both.
They figured out how to do it, even though that was boring in a different way to me. Yeah, I would watch the Mario Brothers movie well before I want to watch this again.
That's surprising.
And to be honest, on a performance level, I would rather watch Willy's Wonderland than this again to watch Nicolas Cage.
Also understandable.
And honestly, maybe that's when my head too is like, is Nicolas Cage in this movie? Is that the cameo that Nemo was talking about?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Because that would be like, I would admit, like, that would have, if that was in the Stinger scene, it would have changed my entire view of the movie. Like, this was a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
This was really clever, actually. It'd almost be like Split's ending of just like, this is actually an Unbreakable sequel. There's Bruce Willis. Like, oh my God, it's Nicolas Cage's Willy's Wonderland character.
That's really funny. If that had happened, I would have lost it.
And I mean, at this point, I guess it would piss off the fans, which is clearly who they're making this for. But like, one, Nick Cage would do it.
Oh, absolutely.
And he'd probably play that character again as that, or fuck it, just make it Nicolas Cage. Who cares?
Have the sequel have the actual purple guy come back and make that Nicolas Cage. Have a crazy man going around killing children.
To see Matthew Lillard and Nicolas Cage chew scenery side by side,
I would love that.
That would make me be like, okay, well, I guess I'm on board.
Like love that.
And we get obvious. I don't want to call it sequel bait, but like at the end, Abby's like, oh, I miss my friends. Do you think we could go back and see them sometime? And Hunger Games is like, well, you never know what could happen. And that was another instance of dialogue where it's like, what is, that's not a thing.
What does that mean?
It's not, people don't talk like that.
But also, is your aunt on your floor? But,
and he also goes and talks to Vanessa, who does not wake up from her stab wound, but she's in the hospital alive. And he's just like, I don't know if you can hear this, but I'm having trouble processing what happened.
Were you like me too?
Yeah, she's having a lot of trouble with it too, buddy. She had a knife in the gut, and
the audience.
And I guess it was a little weird that too, where Matthew Lillard ends up stabbing her. He has like a moment on his face where he looks like saddened by that he did it, but then he's just like over it.
Like that adds to that psychopath.
And like I didn't get, granted, we don't get a lot of times. Like I didn't get the sense like I don't believe that you're father and daughter.
Because also you don't get that sense either that like this is an entire movie about like, okay, on the surface level, it's killer robots, but actually it's a killer person. Like that's the actual threat.
I know, you're right. Until you said it that way and also explaining the lore of the eye color and shit.
That's new. That's new. That was in the movie.
I got that, they made it clear that whoever this guy is still around or whatever. And like, I didn't get the sense that he was the one doing these things.
So I think you should, at least your first half of the movie or like flashbacks should have been setting up him killing these kids.
And to be honest, I kind of like that less. Maybe that's why I'm thinking Willy's one of the reasons I think Willy's Wonderland is better is to like, nope, this is just
they're evil robots.
They're just evil robots.
Yeah.
And that is a possessed place and you shouldn't go in there. Versus in this, which was just like
Vanessa's gonna tell you everything, but in chunks.
In infuriating chunks.
Yes.
And I think I was even mad at Hunger Games of like, you should be mad. You should be more mad that she's clearly not telling you stuff.
But he just wants to go back to sleep.
And then he was mad at the end when she's really laying stuff out and he's like, you let me bring her in there. She's like, I told you not to take her in there. It's like, you danced with her. Like, and it was like, yeah. So maybe it's also the movie's like also pointing out its own plot holes. Like, yeah.
But also, is Vanessa crazy? Like, is that what's gonna? Are they gonna set up that she's also a killer, like in the sequel? What if this movie?
So, if any of the people that you watched it with were any of them Five Nights fans?
One of them was, and she said a lot of stuff had changed, but she liked the movie. But she was like, "There's some certain things in here that's not how it works in the game," which is like, I don't understand. And I think the eye color thing was a big one, and the cupcake killing a bunch of stuff. She's like, the cupcake was, in the first game, just supposed to sit on top of the security monitor like he was watching the player the entire time.
Guess they're just like, well, fuck it. It's another character model.
Yeah. And other people really liked it. One friend said he just wished it was more scary, which is like, yeah, that's fair. And the other one...
I wish this horror movie was a horror movie.
Yeah. And the other one was just they couldn't believe a Living Tombstone song was in a theatrical release movie.
And I'm sure kind of like we've discussed before too, and like, like Kevin Smith reviews where they're always positive because he's just like, I can't believe that I'm watching Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Right.
I guess that the sense could be here with this.
I definitely got that where I was like, it's insane that I'm watching this, but at the same time it's like, man,
but
I would have done things differently though.
But I don't agree with that because like in Kevin Smith's case and stuff he's referencing, like it's almost like legacy aspects and like old stuff and weird wild shit. He's like, I can't believe I'm watching that I'm seeing Groot. They made a movie with a tree and a talking raccoon and people are cool with this.
See, I have a bit of a different perspective.
Whereas FNAF does seem like it's not a flash in the pan clearly because it's been a decade and tons of products, but like it's very new and it's a hot IP to sell to kids. So like I'm not shocked that they made a movie out of it.
For me,
I'm shocked it doesn't look as shitty as I thought that it would.
That's fair. It could have been horrible.
it's cool that like obviously a lot of attention was paid to making it accurate to the thing it's coming from, that is a rarity.
I think that's what makes me like kind of love the movie, because it was one person, his idea, and he was able to go from coding in a computer in high school all the way to making it a movie. It's like, that's obtainable to people like us. We could do stuff like this.
Do you think that as far as Scott Cawthon writing screenplay, do you think that after this Five Nights trilogy is done, like is that guy gonna get other fucking like screenplay work?
I do kind of feel like it's one of those J.K. Rowling things where it's like, it's it.
You made one thing and like, this is it, buddy.
I kind of think that's what it is. I do kind of feel that way, because I think he like tried to make another game. I think it made an appearance in this as like someone was wearing a T-shirt of the game, but that was one of those things that no one really knew what it was until someone else was like, "Oh, I know what that is."
So I mean, I will, but I'm glad that it's doing well in regards of
indie creator with passionate writing, which is what
I'll say
they've been fighting for.
I don't care about the indie creator part on Scott Cawthon's part, because that motherfucker already made his money.
That's understandable.
Indie creator, he made his money with the game. But being a continuing trend now of a video game movie that at least is not failing at the box office, I guess it is failing critically, it's being torn apart, but it shows some improvement or betterment of adapting video game to movie. So even though I didn't know any of the lore and all this shit, I do appreciate the fact that apparently they were accurate to all of it. It gives me hope, as we've stated before, is like that. I think the next big wave, the next big thing is going to be, okay, we figured out how to adapt video games now. Mm-hmm. Just like in the 90s, we couldn't do fucking superhero movies, and then Marvel like cracked the codes, like, oh, there it is. We got it.
I think
and we had a decade of like good superhero movies.
I think a really good comparison with this is One Piece on Netflix, which I haven't watched it. I haven't watched the anime, but I know the creator of One Piece was one of the lead writers and like executive deciders on the adaptation of the show. And he said that he was like able to go back and correct things that he didn't like when he started the series. I was able to condense things that was like, well, it was a weekly thing. It doesn't need to be like that for this. And it's caused people to really like the Netflix show to go and watch the anime. I don't feel like people watching this one will be like, I need to play this game if they've never played it before.
Did they ever put out like a collection or a compilation of like the main line, like the five Nights at Freddy's games?
Probably on Steam or something.
So, but they've not gone to console at all.
I think
the mainline one.
Honestly, I'm not sure there's a physical version, but they're all like on the digital download.
Okay.
Because the game themselves are only like 30 megabytes big, like the first one.
So, I mean, I knew they were Steam based and primarily PC based, and it's not a knock on anything, but
there's a VR version.
Of course there is.
Which are actually really well made. I'd say that's the ideal way to play these games is the VR one.
I mean, that would be
like 100%.
I'm sure if VR was a thing when he made the first one, that's probably where it would have just been a VR game, probably. So yeah, I mean, it's just like we've talked about some other stuff. It gives me some, just like, with The Last of Us and even like Sonic the Hedgehog, like, okay, you're kind of figuring it out. I would like to see more mature games
that's understandable
and also allowed to be what they're supposed to be. So this week we got a release date for the Fallout series from Amazon.
Yes,
I think it's April 12th or something
as of right now. Yeah.
And Amazon is also full force ahead on their God of War Ragnarok series,
which is weird
that they're choosing Ragnarok.
Yeah,
I mean, it's what's current, and I don't know. Well, like I said, I don't like it. I wouldn't really recommend watching it, but
I think it's worth checking out. Personally.
There's good elements here, and I guess I wish. Now it's weird. It's like now I want a good.
You want a good Five Nights at Freddy's movie?
No, I just want a good killer animatronic movie.
That's fair.
But now I mean,
like Westworld.
I guess that technically is almost there.
Final thought. I would love it if every single video game movie adaptation that comes out has a Matpat cameo. It's just like the new Stan Lee. Just for video games, just somehow find a way to put Matpat in there. I would enjoy that.
But is he that? I don't feel like he's that synonymous with every.
It would just make me laugh personally. I think it'd be funny. That's it.
I don't like this trend that I'm not going to call it trend because clearly it's just a thing that's going to happen now. YouTubers being in movies.
I mean, yeah, it's going to happen.
Because what? Mr. Beast was in Mutant Mayhem.
Right, yeah, that's right. And they, like what? Boo 2, a Medea Halloween, keeping it thematic, had a shit ton of YouTubers in it.
I did at the beginning of the movie when Hunger Games was talking to his other security guard buddy explaining the dream book.
Yeah.
When I first looked up from the laundry, I was like, what? I didn't know Tyler Perry was in this movie. I thought that was fat Tyler Perry.
That was Tyler Perry. That's funny. Like, I think about Last of Us 2, or 2, just the first one, the show. They have like a scientist, but but it's Matpat. And he's like, we don't know how this started. He's like, it's just a theory. And then
so you don't only just want Matpat in the movie. You want him to get to say the theory.
Find a way to get him to say
it's just a theory. You've got to find a way to say it's just a theory.
Like Stanley saying Excelsior or something, or hello, so fans.
I guess I should credit the movie and Matpat for like saying that line and not literally stopping to wink at the camera like, eh?
Yeah. Like
we all know what's going on.
Yeah. I don't know. Something about that just made me smile. Even though I don't really care for Matpat's videos whatsoever. I don't know. It's funny.
I hope that at the very least they take something to heart and be like, and try to do better. But like I said, I don't know why they would. They don't have to. Be like arguing like, do you think the next Twilight movies will be better? It's like, why would they get better?
Right, yeah.
They made all the money on doing what they did.
I do feel like out of all things, this might be the one place to really take this like criticism to heart. Like they would actually improve. It just kind of feels like they're the type of company to do that.
Blumhouse?
Yes. Considering like some of the stuff they used to make and how much the quality is upgraded.
I don't know, because they also made Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends.
But they looked good.
And I think that they also are the ones who put out The Exorcist Believer.
Probably, but also with that one, it still looked good.
Yeah, no.
The movie itself might not have been good, but at least it looked good.
And this one eventually had some good looking shots.
And like just detail, I guess.
I would like to see Steven Spielberg come in and do it. But I mean, I said it was a joke, but like kind of legit, like it could fall into his wheelhouse a little bit and just like keeping things more practical, like Jurassic Park style. Like,
yeah.
Yep, we're gonna like suits. We're gonna keep these suits. We're gonna do more advanced suits.
Yeah, yeah, like for real. Like the big takeaway of this one is just like good job for doing practical effects.
Also, now seeing this be like, okay, so a couple years, let's try another live action Ninja Turtles movie.
Oh yeah,
and do that.
Exactly.
Build the suit. Don't fucking CG this.
Yeah, I don't know. This is a very mixed bag of emotions with this movie. It's weird.
I was a little nervous coming over here today just because when you finished it, your immediate reaction was like, I think I kind of like this.
Yeah. Now, if I had saw this alone and not with my friends, I wonder if my perspective on it would be different.
I guess this would be more fun with people, but again, it's like...
Because we did a whole watch party with it.
There was so much of the movie that was just like the dour Josh being sleepy and like, my brother! Oh, I want to find my brother! Because we did... I just want to find the killer!
We did keep doing like our own versions of like the screams and stuff every time like something was on screen, so we kept making each other laugh.
When they do part 2,
yeah,
just be more fun. At this point, I guess I would argue like you've established the world. Kind of. I mean, you didn't tell us or explain anything, but like I guess it's established. We're on board now. Animatronics are alive and there are dead kids in there. Okay.
Well, speaking of dead kids, make sure to check your candy tonight. Make sure there's no razor blades in it.
To close out the episode, other than FNAF, is there anything that you would you want to recommend for the audience to watch on Halloween?
Yeah. Honestly, The Hug, even though it's 5 minutes, it's fun. I'd recommend watching that.
You can watch that while you get ready.
How about you? You got one?
If you haven't seen it, a movie called Trick or Treat.
Oh yeah, Trick or Treat.
Yes, Trick or Treat.
Speaking of practical effects, that's an ideal movie to watch.
It's a anthology movie, but kind of unique because all the stories being told are actually happening at the same time.
I love that.
So the stories are actually interwoven with each other, and it's from the guy that did Krampus. So I guess he has a style of...
It's kind of his first, right?
It is his first, yeah. I guess he just enjoys doing seasonal horror movies. But yeah, Trick or Treat I think is a perfect just on Halloween watch movie. And
you know what? That's an iconic character from the 2000s, maybe 2010s.
Can you think of his name?
I just know everyone calls him my son, my little son. Damn it.
Talking about the little sackhead from Trick or Treat?
Yeah, with a jack-o'-lantern head.
I think it's Sam. I think his
name
is Sam.
That's it. Yeah, Sam. That's a pretty iconic one.
For nerds, I think if you show that picture to just a standard person, be like, do you know who this is? Be like, nope.
I would recommend not The Season of the Witch. That's the song that's in the movie. The Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark by Del Toro.
I have not seen that yet.
That is a PG-13 horror movie that does a fantastic job of being scary, has a ton of practical effects, and it also has a very strange ending. It's very much a great Del Toro movie.
Well, there you go. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
I would recommend you watch that tomorrow.
And Trick or Treat.
Anyway, I think it's time to go get some candy, get some goods. What do you say?
Yeah, let's go do some tricks and or some treats. But definitely do write into us. Let us know what are some of your Halloween favorites, or what are you going to watch this year on Halloween?
Yeah, I'd love to know personally, like stuff that you watch every Halloween.
And where do you fall in the Five Nights fandom? Who's your favorite animatronic? It's a good poll. Who's your favorite animatronic? Maybe can we put polls up on YouTube?
I absolutely can.
Yeah, maybe
I put it on Spotify.
Maybe we'll do that. We'll have polls. Is there like slash fiction of Five Nights at Freddy's stuff?
Absolutely. Are you kidding me?
Which animatronic do you think?
Chica, the girl.
You think that's one that has the most?
Yes.
The giant fat bird?
Yes, also because apparently the second one made her more
feminine.
Yeah. She's got the fuck me eyes.
That's definitely where I want to end this episode.
Five Nights at Freddy's.